Hey, what's going on, guys? So I just wanted to give you guys a quick 1 to 50 Upheaval leveling guide. This is what I played this season up till World Tier 3, and it's been a lot of fun. So I just wanted to share my input with it, and there's a lot of cool variation that you can do. So anyone who's just rolling Barb or maybe just getting started on the season, feel free to leave your comments and some feedback down below. But yeah, let's get right into the skill tree, and I'll show you guys kind of how I went through as I was leveling and what I found to work best for me. This respec mode is great. I'll just kind of show you my thought process with this, but it's going to look pretty similar, I imagine, for most builds. It's kind of based around berserking, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but for now let's just go over the skill tree, and I'll show you where you can maybe throw in some variation, but I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. So to start off, lunging strike, it's great for mobility. Probably the best basic that you can get. So we're gonna go 2 into there. Unlock Upheaval. We grab Upheaval, Enhance Upheaval, and then Furious Upheaval. And this is a huge bonus to Upheaval. And we're gonna be using these 6 stacks pretty much all the time. So after that, I actually like to go back up and grab the bleed for lunging strike. So we do use lunging strike a decent bit, depending again on which variation of this build you kind of do. Once you get into the defensive node, we're going to take Rallying Cry, Enhanced Rallying Cry, and Tactical Rallying Cry. This ability is just super solid all around, gives you Unstoppable, gives you 20 Fury off the bat, and then 20% multiplier on Fury generation, and that's huge. So that's just a super strong ability. Oh, as well as movement speed, another huge factor for that ability. So once you're there, you need some more points to get to the next node. I personally like to go back up, grab 2 more ranks of Upheaval, and then once we come down to the brawling, this is where things get fun. So charge got a huge buff this season. The damage is ridiculous, so we're going to be playing with charge for sure. So we grab charge, enhanced charge, and then power charge for some reduced cooldown. It's great against packs, it's great against bosses, just all around a super solid ability. Here's where you could kind of go one of 2 ways. I'm going to show you the version of the build with Leap, and this has been working really great for me. It's a bit more consistent in my opinion, but you could go Warcry if you want. Just keep in mind we're going to go into Battle Fervor, so the Berserking is a bit more consistent with Leap, as well as the Fury generation. So I go Leap, I go Enhanced Leap, and then I go Power Leap. And here's kind of the first spot where you kind of have to look at, like, okay, am I dying too quick? Do I not have enough Fury generation? Things like that, because there's a couple different ways you could go. You could go Pit Fighter for more raw damage. You could go into charge more if you feel like you kind of want to do, you're doing more with charge. But I'll just kind of show you the route that I would take from here. Personally, I'd like to max out my Upheaval. And then once you max out Upheaval, then I'm coming down, I'm getting 1.2 aggressive resistance. Again, if you're dying a lot, feel free to max that out first, but Battle Fervor is going to be massive for us. And then we need 1 more point to get down into the next node. So I'll throw 1 point in the charge there. Charge is huge. And then once we get this node, we're definitely taking Wrath of the Berserker. This is one of our best abilities. This and charge are probably the 2 best abilities in my opinion. So this gives a huge damage multiplier with Berserking, and it also increases your, it'll refresh your Berserking every time you use a basic ability, which is huge. So you basically have Berserking the entire time Rat's up. The multiplier is huge. You get movement speed and Fury generation. It's just like, it gives you pretty much everything. So we're definitely taking that. Once you get Wrath, again, this is kind of like, you can go wherever. Definitely finish off Battle Fervor if you haven't. But if you feel like you're dying more, you can go aggressive resistance. If you want more raw damage, Pit Fighter. If you want movement speed, swiftness, we're gonna take all that stuff anyway. So it's kind of up to you where you want to go from here. Personally, I feel like this is a good time to start going into Pressure Point. This lets us apply vulnerable, or a chance, lucky hit, 30% chance to apply vulnerable on Upheaval, which if you're fighting big packs, it's a decent chance. From there, I'm gonna go into Wallop and give the vulnerable targets that damage multiplier. Sorry. and then we unlock our key passive. So I've messed around a little bit with Unbridled Rage, and I think I'm going to end up going into Unbridled Rage later on, like post-Paragon endgame. But with this build and the leveling version, Unconstrained is way more consistent. You have to double your Fury costs with Unbridled Rage, and unless you have some kind of resource aspect, it's pretty tough to do that. This build is kind of meant to be run without any aspects, like assuming you don't have any aspects. But again, if you have like 2 resource aspects on your rings and you want to mess around with Unbridled Rage and some more Fury generation, go ahead. It's great. Overall, it will be better in the late game. But Unconstrained is super solid for us. We have a pretty great uptime on Berserking, and this is increases the maximum duration and 100% damage multiplier. That's huge. So for the rest of our points, again, think about what you need. Personally, I would come up, get the 8% more damage reduction. That's huge. If you don't need Fury generation, then you can go Swiftness or Pit Fighter, but all 3 of these passives are really great. Our Berserking is, again, up most of the time, so these are huge bonuses. We're gonna get Pit Fighter, raw damage multiplier, as well as some damage reduction, just solid ability. Then I like to come down and grab some heals. We spend a lot of Fury with this build, so that's a consistent way to heal ourselves. And then some max life as well. It's just some more survivability. You could go, I like to go Swiftness, some extra movement speed. It's nice. Now I'm getting into Hell Tides and stuff like that. It's nice to have. I also like to go Heavy-Handed. Those are kind of 2 that you can do whatever you want with, but that's what I would personally do. Alright guys, so for the techniques, you want to max out your 2 enemies and 2-handed sword. Until we have a way to consistently apply vulnerable, I like to run this 2-handed sword technique. So once I get exploit and leveled up a bit, I'm going to switch over to axes, but the bleed from the 2-handed sword is solid. And then Upheaval, we're running bludgeoning, so we're going to get the bonus from the 2-handed mace expertise on that. I like to run dual wield on the lunging strike just for the faster attack speed. It's nice, it comes in handy. And then I run slashing on charge. So yeah, that's I'm running an axe right now, that's why, but that's kind of the basic technique setup. If you guys need to level up your techniques at all, you can just come in here, apply it to all your abilities, and kind of go to town. But that's pretty much it with the techniques. I think end game you're always going to run 2-handed axe, but you're always going to have bludgeoning on your Upheaval, and then feel free to kind of play around with the rest and see what works best for you. Oh, and leap, I'm also running slashing. So let me get into some of the aspects, and then yeah, we'll go from there. All right guys, I'm going to show you the aspects that you could potentially get if you want. Again, none of these are really needed. This build is great without them, but they will definitely provide some sort of benefit. So in the Codex, if you want any defensives, you can get Disobedience or Numbing Wrath. Those are probably the better 2 out of them. As far as offensive, the seasonal Sundered Ground aspect is great. If you unlock it during the season, definitely throw it on. It's a nice way to guarantee overpower. Earth Strikers is solid. Veteran Brawlers solid. Berserk Ripping is great. This is one I'm probably going to throw on soon. Edge Master is good. Resource, if you want to run Unbridled Rage, I would recommend getting both of these, and it'll probably be a lot smoother. But Unrelenting Fury is probably the better out of the 2, and then I would swap like Leap for Warcry or something to get some more benefit out of your shouts. Utility, Relentless Berserker's aspect is super solid. There's another one I'm definitely going to use sooner rather than later. And then you could get Ghostwalkers if you want, definitely not necessary. Some of the non-codex powers that I'm actually using right now that could help are Accelerating and the Convention of Elements aspect. It's nice having some multiplier on your physical damage. And then some other ones that I'm going to throw up on the screen here are going to be, so those are going to be Aspect of Ancestral Charge, super solid. Again, I'd probably just save these for more endgame stuff if you guys get these, but if you want to throw them on while you're leveling, feel free. Ancestral Charge is a decent damage bonus for charge. Aspect of Limitless Rage is super solid, gives you raw damage pretty much on your upheaval. Bear Clan Berserker's Aspect is another one that's pretty good. It's going to reduce the cooldown of your charge and basically give you more berserking, more damage. Those three are all really good. Some other ones that you could look into would be Bold Chieftain's Aspect as well as Steadfast Berserker's Aspect. But, you know, again, don't need any aspects at all for this build to operate correctly. But feel free to mess around. And then real quick, I wanted to go over the seasonal mechanic, the Seneschal Construct. I'm not going to go too deep into this because honestly the power from it is quite underwhelming, but I'll just show you kind of what I've been using. Honestly, while you're leveling 1 to 50, I would just say throw in whatever you kind of have and whatever you think makes sense. For me, Reconstruct, I was messing around with this. I mostly just have that for Safeguard, which you can put Safeguard on a melee ability or damage ability if you want, but it's nice to have some extra damage. This is probably the best part of the Seneschal Construct for me up to this point. Haven't really done too many faults or anything like that, but the other ability I'm using is Pummel, and I'm just giving it some random tuning stones that kind of seem like they might make sense. I know a lot of people run Lightning Bolt here, or they run 2 damage abilities. Mockery support's interesting because it taunts, but other than that, there's really like not much to say about it, at least while you're leveling. I'm sure it'll get a lot more in depth once they kind of buff the Seneschal Construct, and once you're in endgame and you have a chance at these Uber stones. But I just want to briefly go over that in case anyone was curious. I wouldn't look too much into this, especially not in the scope of this video for just getting to World Tier 3. It's not going to be super important. It's not make or break, and it's definitely not as strong as Vampire Powers from Season 2. So that's pretty much it for the season stuff. So I'm going to show you kind of real quick how I like to play and what's going on with the build. So if you're running this build and you're kind of wondering like how the rotation should work, if you run up to a pack, basically if your Wrath is not on cooldown, I would pop Wrath first, and then assuming you don't have any upheaval stacks, I would leap into the center of the pack. That should give you all your upheaval stacks if you hit 6 enemies. That'll also give you pretty much maximum fury. So I would upheaval there. Probably you could upheaval twice and then pop Rallying Cry, or you could charge after that, then upheaval again with 6 stacks, and then pop Rallying Cry, throw some lunging strikes in there, upheaval again. So it's kind of like use Wrath basically off cooldown, but I mean, I would do it at the start of like an elite pack or something, and then you're kind of alternating between leap and charge to give you berserking as well as give you the stacks of upheaval, and you're upheavaling kind of in between. So you would do something like that, and then you want to kind of get to the outsides of the packs and upheaval, because if you're in the center, you're just not going to hit that many. And you can see we're applying bleeding damage this whole time, and you know, you have great fury generation with this build, and just solid consistent damage. Accelerating is making this look way more fluid than it normally is, but yeah, that's kind of how this build works. There's really not much to it. Keep berserking up as much as you can. You know, as soon as you charge or leap, you know you're gonna have 3 seconds of berserking, so that's kind of your window to get in your upheavals. And then when Wrath comes up, that's kind of just go to town, and Warcry for movement speed or fury, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's really not much else to the build. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you guys have any feedback for me or any questions like that, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll probably make some more upheaval guys. I plan on playing this endgame. I might swap over to something like Hoda, but I'll probably make some more guides or just some more videos for Season 3 in general. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I hope you guys have a good one.